All right, so we're back. Yes. Another episode of Seeking Wisdom, and we are lucky to have Trish Bertuzzi on here. And
you should.
And so probably everyone who's listening knows Trish, legend. Wrote a book called the Sales Development Playbook.
Yes.
And I read that book. And back when I was at HubSpot, we read that book and it was circulated around. And we learned about the concept, the emergence of the sales development rep.
Yes.
Right? You kind of crystallize that. And so we're lucky to have her. Even though we're in the same city, we're in the same state, Massachusetts, we've never had you on the podcast before, which is our bad. And so we're rectifying that, and we're psyched to have you on board today. Welcome, Trish.
Thank you. Psyched to finally be here. Yeah. And it kind of disturbs me that you said you had a copy of my book that you passed around at HubSpot. Like, how am I supposed to make any money if you buy one copy?
They have one copy.
They're like, are you done yet? Can I read it yet?
Yeah. You're like, I'm trying to fund my retirement here.
Totally. We got to sell some books. Yeah. Get a copy of Sales Development Playbook on Amazon.
Because if you did it to make money, the book is not the money. The book is not the money. Maybe it is. DC's trying to push me to get our new book, New York Times bestseller week 1. Yeah. 15,000 copies in 1 week.
Well, if you buy 15,000 copies.
No, it doesn't count. I've looked into it.
That's how it counts on Amazon, just so you know.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So there's a lot we should talk about with Trish, but I think so. What's changed? How do you talk about and how do you sum up what has changed since you wrote the book? Because I feel like you wrote the book in 2 years ago, and even since then, overnight, the landscape has changed, and I just think people, from how people react to sales and marketing to what's actually changed inside of companies. What's changed since you wrote the book?
So a couple things have changed pretty significantly, and I think one of the big things that I talk about a lot recently is the fact that it's even harder to get buyers to engage with us. Harder than ever before. The wall is bigger, and you have to be better to get there. So
I wrote this quote down because I was like, this is how I know this is going to be fun because you talk like we talk. You said, buyers have built this massive wall between them, and the reason why is because we have bored the ever-living crap out of them with banal messaging, content that is 6 ways to do this or that, and emails that have alligators and file boxes that fell on top of someone.
Yeah. I pull punches.
That's
fine. That's filtered.
That's filtered. So it's true, though, right?
So true.
I mean, everybody looks at your inbox or whatever, and you're like, ugh, here we go. So what does that do for sales development? It makes their job even that much harder, and they had the hardest job in the whole sales process to begin with, right? One of the things that I think is going to help people this year is to think about engagement in a little bit of a different way. So we did some research with Modern Sales Pros and Sales Hacker, right? The Bridge Group did that, and it's called the Ultimate Sales Engagement Guide. And it's research on how some very specific buyer types want to be approached and consume content, right? Fascinating research. So what it said to us is, let's take sales versus marketing. Sales likes video. Sales likes the phone. Marketing likes email. Marketing likes white papers. So just if you're selling to both of those constituencies, most people go out and they build this sequence or cadence that says we're going to touch you this many times using this whatever, and it's vanilla across all buyer personas. So the new thing now is to get so intimately knowledgeable about your buyer personas that you know what channels to communicate with them in, and you know what channels to deliver content in. That's a big trend.
Why has that taken so long? Right? Doesn't it seem obvious? Because if this was like in real life, you would know that you would have to treat someone who has a different role differently, right?
Well, because I think it's taken so long because we just get to the point where we finally have standardized cadences and sequences.
That's true.
I think, and then, we had phone, we had email, then we had social, now we have conversational marketing. So, there's a lot going on, and it's just the next step in our evolution.
How did you become known for being the queen of sales development?
It's a self-proclaimed title.
So you're good. She's a marketer. She's really a marketer, to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I guess I just
no,
talk
but you
about
are known.
it.
You are known that way.
Yeah. Well, I wouldn't know
Yeah.
I don't know about being the queen.
Okay.
I think people think Trish equals like sales development or inside sales. It's those two go hand in hand.
21 years in. 21 years.
Okay, that's the secret.
I always say to people, I'm an overnight success, 30 years in the making.
Love that.
DG, you have 28 more years to go.
28? I can't even do the math on that. Okay, yeah.
Don't make me feel bad. Don't make me feel bad.
No, this is good. I think everything's going in the other direction, which is we've talked a lot about, which is we went from like the last 5-10 years was about like what can I automate, what can I make more efficient. And I think we're seeing in the marketing world and in the sales world, we're seeing this swing way back the other way, which is like one-to-one, like real information, real knowledge, real research, great content from a marketing perspective. Like the whole like make a PDF out of some blog post and then call it an ebook doesn't work anymore. The whole, spray and pray model doesn't work anymore, where you send, endless emails. Did you get my email? The trick with the threaded response and all the gimmicks. Like I think that was the last decade and we're moving into this new decade, which is interesting to hear you say that it is harder than ever today. But then we have companies with big goals, managers who have incentives to push the team hard. Like, how are reps going to balance this next like decade or 5 to 10 years of where sales is going to be much? Do you think that it's much harder to sell than it was 10 years ago? No, it's easier.
You said sell.
It's to sell.
Engage is a whole different part of the sales process, right?
Okay, yeah.
So I think getting to engagement is the hardest part of the sales process now. I think selling, once you get the right guy or girl and you have the right conversation about the right problem, I think sales 101, good old-fashioned sales skills, I don't think that's changed. I think we forgot how to be good.
Totally.
I think we let our good muscles atrophy, but I don't think it's really changed. I think what's changed the most is the front end. The back end, because I think keeping those customers once we sell them, that's the new frontier.
Yeah, definitely.
Because customers are fickle. They're there's no downsides to switching. Other maybe a little aggravation.
There's just too much risk. You can't do the bait and switch anymore. Like. Not that was ever
you're not
a good
just selling
strategy
one
anyway.
thing anymore, right? You're selling a relationship now, right? You're selling SaaS, you're selling recurring, you're selling ongoing, you're selling, over a life cycle versus selling one thing once and get out.
Yes. Yeah. Which sounds like it's easier, but it's also easier for them to break up with.
Totally. It's way harder, I think. Yeah. And I think it's one thing observation that I had that's interesting about you, Trish, is that you've always, this is from my viewpoint, always developed personal relationships, always about giving value, always, and you have at Bridge Group have always done research, deep research, and that's what you put out there. And then, but the market, the sales market has gone, and marketing, I should say, even the marketing market more has gone so much more overboard on like what Dave was saying, which is like light, not personal, no value, right? And now I think now it's time to pay for that.
Well, there was a company that created part of this problem who shall remain nameless, right? So, for a while, we all got caught up on, having people come to us. And content is king, and you know what? And it worked for a while.
It did?
And then
very well.
And then it stopped.
Yeah.
Right? So now it's time for the next iteration of what that looks
like. Like all things in marketing, or all of these techniques, right? They stop after a while.
Can you unpack that a little bit? Like, I want to get into the tactics of like, what is the next wave of this? Like, talk to there's 70 sales reps at Drift or however many people and thousands of people that are going to watch this. Like, how do you actually go and do that? Because I think there's I think the narrative of like sales is harder, you have to be personal, engagement is important. Like, I think everybody agrees with that, but I haven't seen a lot of people get into like the how. So like, how the companies you work with, the people you advise, like how do they actually, what is a good example of how somebody goes and does this?
So here's the interesting thing. There's no one way, right? So one of the things that I say to people all the time is, look, if I knew the right answer for every company out there, obviously I would be on my yacht.
Yes.
And I am not, right? I'm not on the yacht.
Not on the yacht. Not on the yacht.
Right? I think here's the thing you need to figure out. You have to figure out your strategy, right? We get so caught up in execution, we forget to constantly go back and reevaluate our strategy. And I think that's a critical success factor. Like, where are you in the technology adoption life cycle? Are you selling to innovators and early adopters? Are you selling into the commodity space? Are you selling to the laggard space? You know, Jeffrey Moore's book is as valid today as it ever was.
Totally.
Like, so where are you
I
there?
reread it.
What's your brand and name recognition? What level of the organization do you sell into? What's your average deal size? Like, if you're selling to someone in DevOps, your strategy is going to be totally different than if you're selling to the C-suite. So everything flows from the strategy. And what I see companies do is develop a strategy, go into execution mode, and never look in the rearview mirror to make sure the strategy's right. Strategy needs to iterate as much as your message and your method.
Yes. What I love about what you're saying, what we're talking about here is like we talk about it's all kind of the same in some ways. It's like all of the principles are basic, right? We shouldn't be confused, right? People, relationships, how to sell, how to provide value, how to analyze, that stuff's basic, but we confuse ourselves all the time because we're chasing tactics and tricks and this and that, and then we're like, why isn't it working? It's like, because we skipped the basics.
Right.
We skip the basics every single time, and it's like we didn't deliver any value, right? We didn't focus on the customer. We didn't look at what we were doing and understand the strategy behind it. We didn't do any of these things, and it's actually basic stuff, but nobody wants the basic answer because it's hard and it takes time. They want the easy answer.
Well, the other thing is we're measured on activity.
Yes.
Ooh, we're so busy.
Yeah.
So busy. So
Yeah.
I think if you're measured on impact more than activity, I mean at the executive leadership level most especially, that, you know, it makes a profound difference in your go-to-market strategy.
So David has, since the beginning of Drift, like he's told me, I'm a marketer. He's told me
That's not your fault.
it's not my fault.
No, I'm sorry.
You were born that way.
Okay. I sold a couple 2-3 deals every now.
Yeah, 2-3.
All right, 2-3 deals. So he was like, look, I'm gonna give you advice, and it's not gonna fit with what everybody else tells you, but I actually don't want you to read. He goes, don't read any marketing or sales best practices, especially in B2B, especially in SaaS. Go back and study the timeless lessons. Go back and read sales books and marketing books from the 1920s, 30s, 40s, right? Like even, you know, early 2000s, Chet Holmes, Sales Machine.
Yeah.
Like, so many great books like that. And that to me that unlocked the lesson, which is over the last 100 years, 200 years, there's only one thing that hasn't changed in sales. People.
Right.
People are always going to be the same. People are, you know, they want, what's the emotion, what's the benefit, what's the selfish need, what's the desire they have. That stuff has never changed. But I think we've just gone so far in the other direction of what's the technology, what's the little hack, that all your advice, the thing you guys were just talking about is really about what is the person that you're trying to sell to, what do they want, what do they desire, and how can you reach them. That stuff has never changed.
Right.
We're just now blinded by, oh, video's a thing now. I'm just gonna blast out 100 videos and like, look, I'm doing good sales today. It doesn't work like that.
Right. 100%.
What
What was your favorite book?
What was my favorite book?
Of all the oldies that you read?
Yes.
This is
Jeffrey Moore
a
is
true
my-
professional.
Yeah,
A true
love it.
professional asks questions back.
Yes.
A true professional asks questions back. Most people come on the podcast and they're like, yes, next question, please.
Yeah.
Next question.
All
Yeah.
My favorite book, there was one, there's a 1924 Claude Hopkins Scientific Advertising. It has everything you need to know. It could be written it could be a book from 20 years in the future, and it's all the same.
Oh my God.
It's from 1924, and
We'll
that was
send you a
like
copy.
I'll send you a copy. That was the book that I read that unlocked everything for me, because it was like, wait a second, this is from over 100. This is from 100 years ago.
Yeah.
This is the same advice.
Yeah.
And then you read a book like Ogilvy on Advertising from 1965.
Yeah.
Same, right? Then Chet Holmes, 2007, Ultimate Sales Machine. Same. He's talking about ABM then, which was just called the Dream 100.
Yeah.
Narrow down your universe and find the 100 people that you're going to sell
Yeah.
to and want
Yeah.
to be good customers.
Yeah.
And so I think those books have just those are three that we talk about a lot.
And that was important to show the progression, because he went back, and then now he can see like the pattern of like, it's always the same, right? Because it's basic human needs, right? Like they're always the same. We can package them, call them something differently. We can put some technology on it. We can do whatever, but it's basically the same. And that's like 80% or more. That's a 90% of the thing to focus on, right? And developing. And then this other stuff that changes all the time. That's the easy, light stuff.
And we hang out with our sales team a lot. We talk, hey, what are you reading? What are you learning? And they'll ask like, hey, what's a good sales podcast I should listen to? I'm like, don't go listen to a sales podcast. Go read Cialdini's Influence, 6 Principles of Influence. Go read that. And if you read that book about social psychology and behavior, you're going to run laps around everybody else in your field. But I think that's not the people don't want that. They don't want the book from 1984.
Maybe they can get it on Audible, close
Maybe.
enough to a podcast.
That's pretty good.
Yeah,
That's pretty good.
Right?
That's pretty good. So how do you think about it? How do you think about technology then? Like, if it is just about people, how do you go out and help advise companies about what stuff they should put into play?
So first of all, I love tech. That's a problem. It's a big problem in my budget.
Yes.
Yes, it is a big budgetary issue for me. But so here's how we say to think about it. Once again, everything flows down from the strategy. So if I go to someone and I'll say, what are you doing for this particular problem? And they say, oh, I bought.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, but what's your strategy? They go, I bought.
Yeah.
Right?
It's all done now.
Yep. So that's my silver bullet, and that's gonna fix it. So what we say to people is, you need a couple basic strategies to start, right? You need a fabulous CRM. You need, that's table stakes, and then you need a couple other building blocks, depending on what you're trying to accomplish. But what you have to do is figure out what supports the strategy. Figure out what you need, buy it, implement it, iterate on it, get successful, then think about the next thing. SDRs have, what did I hear yesterday? They're using like 5.2 tools a day or something crazy. Well, how do you do that effectively? Like, how do they all tie together? And that's why they need 2 screens now, right? 2 monitors, because they're like, right.
Go back and forth.
And then they're so busy, that they're not having like conversations with their buyers because they're so busy looking at stuff that they're not engaged on, mano y mano. So
it's easier to look at stuff than actually deal with it.
Yeah,
talk to someone.
Well, but if you think about it, though, look at the
not
average
effective,
age of a sales development rep. They don't have face-to-face conversations. Like, I could be sitting next to someone and they'll text me, or Snapchat, or whatever the case. So, I mean, there's that problem which we need to surmount. Can I go on a rant just for 1 minute?
Please.
Okay.
This is a rant.
Rant
zone.
Go ahead.
Okay, so here's what makes me crazy about people who are disappointed in their sales development reps. They don't train them, and I don't mean training on what to say, when to say it, the sequence,
standard,
whatever. How about presentation skills?
Oh, yes. I love it.
How about learning how to speak in a way that works for you, that you recognize what your pitfalls are? Like, I listened to something I did the other day, and I say, I think, at the beginning of every sentence. Well, obviously, it's coming out of your mouth. It's what you think.
Right?
Yeah.
So I have to train myself not to do that anymore. But just like presentation skills, that a conversation is a presentation.
Totally. Yep.
So I think people need to start investing in more than just tools, tech, tips, tricks, hacks.
Yeah, this is what we, like internally, I feel like we spend a lot of our time, the real training that we do every day is on things that I wish I would have learned in school or at some point, but they're basic things like how do you frame a story? What is a story? Dave talks about this a lot. Here are the elements of a story. These are the 3 things you need to have in a story. Every presentation is a story, right? Every pitch is a story. Every time you communicate with a group, it's a storytelling activity. And the basics of storytelling, whether it's in a movie or face-to-face or whatever, they're the same, right? Whether it's like you can go back to as far back as you want. You could go to the Bible, you can go to whatever. It's always the same thing. So how do you teach? How do you do that? Like, no one taught me how to do that. How do I had to learn, and that's what we try to teach internally. How do you teach presentation skills? How do you teach how to reach out to someone and give before you ask to get something from them, right? Like, how do you teach these basic things that I wish the world would have taught us? How do you recognize like how they're different from you, and then how do you communicate to someone who's different than you are, right? All of those basic skills.
How do they want to communicate?
Yes,
totally.
Like, sales reps should be saying at the end of every initial conversation, what's your preferred method of communication?
Yeah.
Totally.
Do you want an email? Do you want me to call you? What
I
do
have
you
one
want?
client who only texts me.
Oh, yeah. I believe it.
Gone with the wind size text. It's the only way he wants to communicate. Hey, whatever works.
Whatever
right?
they want.
Whatever works.
But also
we don't ask.
looking internally. So you mentioned, you joke when you walked in, you're like, I see you everywhere with videos, right?
Yeah.
LinkedIn. And the question, we talked about this the other day. I get a lot of questions from people that are like, hey, I want to do that too, but I just don't like being on camera. And I'm like, don't do it just because I do it. You have to find your thing.
Yeah.
And I think it's easy to get caught up. Just like marketers, we love getting caught in like the best practices.
Yeah.
Oh, the best thing you should do in an email is blank.
Yeah.
Where like, same thing in sales. What is your thing? I've been at companies where there's 5 varieties of different type of sales reps. One of them is all facts and just knows the product cold and gives a wow demo.
Yep.
The other one is like all sizzle and tells a great story and doesn't really know the product that well, but they all work, and everybody has these kind of different flavors.
It's bringing the human back into sales is what's going to make you successful. Your personality, your style, whatever it is. You don't have to be like the guy sitting next to you.
Yeah.
You know, you don't have to be hyper Harry, or you don't have to be chatty Susie. You can be you. If you want to be technical Teddy, use it to your advantage.
I think we all love when being on the other end of getting sold to, we all love when a salesperson is real and honest. Like the example I use a lot when we give talks is like when you go to a restaurant.
Yep.
My wife and I were out for her birthday a couple months ago at a restaurant. Mm-hmm. We ordered a bunch of stuff. The waiter comes up to us and he goes, you guys aren't going to like that thing. He goes, trust me, get this one. Instantly won us over on the spot because like this guy's incentivized to get us to buy his stuff at the restaurant, but he's telling us, don't get that, get that. That like credibility, that earns you so much points from a credibility standpoint in that conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's a place you probably want to go back to.
We want to go back because it's an amazing experience, right? Same experience this weekend. I bought a new car this weekend. We go in, we're in there for 4 hours. This guy's telling me, we try to upsell you on this, but you don't actually need that. Just get this thing.
You spent 4 hours buying a car?
Trish, I'm not from
You need to talk to John Barrett.
Yeah.
He bought his Tesla online.
Yeah, that's it.
Like,
dude, why didn't you get a
this
Tesla?
We're in there with car seats and checking this and that. This wasn't like no, John. I love you, John. But that was the fun car for John.
Yeah,
that was like the idea of Tesla.
This is the baby mobile.
This is the family wagon.
Yeah,
There you go.
crazy. I think the concept of sales development reps start because the role has kind of been there as far as I can remember, but it was never.
I had a job in the 80s.
Yeah, totally.
It's called telemarketing.
Yeah.
It was my first job. I loved it so much.
Yeah.
It was a telemarketing
rep.
Absolutely. And you know what? No CRM.
Yeah, nothing.
Like paper, no email,
phone book,
mailing stuff. Oh my God, I'm dating myself. Yes.
That's awesome.
It was like being a Fred Flintstone SDR.
But was it fun?
I loved it.
Yeah.
I am a sales development rep. My favorite thing I do every day is outbound. Just get on the phone.
That's awesome.
Just get people to talk to me.
That's amazing. I wish I had that. I don't have that skill.
Outbound.
I got to develop that skill.
Oh my God, it's so fun.
Cold call?
So there's no such thing as a cold call anall
Say why?
It's intelligent outbound reach.
Yeah. Do your research.
What's cold? I can find out everything I need to know about you. Everything.
That's
Pretty
true.
much, except what you had for lunch.
That's marketing. That's
well, with
marketing.
Dave, if you follow him on
It doesn't
Instagram,
take
you can
long.
find out what he had for lunch.
You can find everything out.
Yeah.
Everything about me
I'm
is
gonna have to
public.
follow
Everything
you
is
on
public.
Instagram.
Come,
Yeah.
Trish.
Yeah.
I have a question. I have a listener question.
Okay.
This is from Kenny. Kenny is up in Toronto.
Okay.
Great
Is it
sales
cold? 'Cause
guy.
It's cold here in Boston.
It's pretty damn cold here.
Yeah.
He says, ask Trish. She said, Trish does everything. She writes books. She does a blog. She has a podcast. She speaks. She goes to events. Which of those things have the biggest impact on your business?
Ooh.
I think I know the answer, but I don't want to answer for you.
We'll see. We should have made him write it down before.
All right, so the book was awesome.
I'm going to write down my answer. Don't look.
I think not events.
No.
Definitely not events.
Say more. Events are so everybody goes to events. We're all at events. Hey, you gonna see? I see John Barrows at every event.
Right, and good for him
Yeah.
because he likes planes. I hate planes.
Yeah, he likes
So here's the thing with an event. I sell to a very specific audience.
Yeah.
So I get on stage at an event. There's, simple terms, 100 people. Maybe 10 of them fit my ideal customer profile, and maybe I can get at 2 of them.
Mm-hmm.
I can stand in my office at my stand-up desk and use my sales engagement platform and get at those same damn 10 people anytime I want.
Without getting on a plane.
Yep.
Right?
That's awesome.
Now, podcasts, I love them.
Mm-hmm.
I love them because, broad audience, diverse audience. I think, honest to God, the thing that gets us probably the best spread is our research and our content. If you look at our blog, we blog 8 times a year.
Mm-hmm.
People pay attention when we blog.
Yeah. Wow, that's so good.
When we do research,
Yeah.
I think that gets us really, that's how people find us. And we give it away for free.
Mm-hmm.
So listeners, we give away fabulous research for free, and we do it because we love you and we love the sales community. So.
And we circulate that research all the time.
Yeah, bridgegroupinc.com.
That's why it works.
Go check it out.
That's why it works, because
link below.
You don't do it often. When you do it, it's meaningful and it's free, because you know that you're going to give this stuff into the world, and what you're going to get back from it is going to be great.
And it's timeless.
Yeah.
It's like we're putting in the hard work. We're only going to release quality. You're only releasing quality.
Yep.
It goes against what everyone thinks, which is like, I'll just put more, and more leads to mediocre stuff that nobody wants to read.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah.
And you're putting out valuable stuff.
That's good to know. My answer was going to be all of those things, because I think
well, you know what? You are correct.
because I think so. I get your point on events, and
Mm-hmm.
not all events are worth, and it's it's expensive travel and hours to go to that stuff.
Yeah.
But I think what you said to me, like, we will do, like, anytime anybody wants to do a video interview, a podcast, we always say yes to that, because I think you have to be everywhere. It's the perception of being everywhere. There's just too much noise. And so I want people to see every video, every podcast, every interview, especially in your space. There's a lot of people out there.
Mm-hmm. And it goes back to something Trish said before, which is like, goes back to the buyer. So like we believe in like investing in all of these things, and they have different payoffs, exactly like you said. But the reason that we do it more is that every buyer has a different preference, right? Just like you said in the communication style, some people want a podcast. So a lot of those people who want a podcast will never ever look at a video. And some people, and vice versa. Some people want video, they'll never do the podcast.
Exactly.
Some people want the research, and they're never going to do any of the audio or the video stuff. Everyone has a different thing that they want, and some people want phone, and this guy wants text only, and this guy wants email. Like, everyone's got their own thing that they want.
All right, we're gonna wrap, and I have some questions for you, more about you personally. Okay, ready? Are you ready? You can do it. You can do it.
Okay.
You can do it.
All right.
Okay, what is your thing? Like, one habit outside of sales development work? Like, are you a gardener? Do you love CrossFit? Like, what is your thing? Personally.
CrossFit?
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
He likes CrossFit. That's right. I put that in there.
Go ahead.
All right. What's
do you
my
meditate?
thing?
Yeah.
No, I'm too hyper. I have bees.
Ooh, that's awesome.
That's such a good thing. Okay.
And let me tell you why I have bees. Because I'm saving the world for your children.
Love it.
Yes.
It's
Doing
Annie's
that for
world.
you.
It's Annie's planet.
I live on a lake. I have a beautiful garden.
That's awesome.
And I decided to get bees because I'm trying to save the world.
Love
I've
that.
always wanted bees.
Yes. I am a yuppie.
Yeah.
And I have my bees. I pay for someone to take care of them.
There's a beekeeper.
I have bees.
So the bees live on your property, but you don't
they're
actually.
tenants.
They're tenants. That's
All right.
awesome.
I go out and do stuff.
Stuff with the bees.
Right.
That's
Look
amazing.
at the bees.
That alone is worth it.
I'm an avid golfer.
Oh, okay.
Nice.
Awesome.
Horrible.
Okay.
I'm like the worst golfer on the face of
Dave's
the
a
planet.
golfer.
You're an avid golfer, yeah?
Oh, terrible. But I love it.
Okay, we're
I
going to
love
play
it,
golf.
and
Yeah,
oh
we
my
should
God,
have.
I belong.
Done.
Yeah.
A great club.
Yeah, well, I'll have to go with you.
Yeah.
And we'll go together.
Okay.
They-
All right,
so they
that's
let him in.
I'll carry your
They
bag.
let him, otherwise,
Those are my things.
might not
And
let him in.
let's see what else. Final thing. I love my family.
Oh, that's awesome.
I have an awesome family.
That's awesome. Good.
So,
All
spend a lot of
right.
time
Bees.
Are they
golf.
nearby? Family?
So I
Family.
believe it or not, I still have my parents.
Wow.
90 years old.
That's awesome.
Active. Yep, they live in Naples, Florida.
That's incredible.
My son lives about 8 minutes away from me. My son, who is Matt Bertuzzi, brilliant member of the Bridge Group,
Yes.
wrote
Yes.
his own book, which
Yes.
is fabulous.
Sure.
Check out his book, Matt Bertuzzi.
Yeah, it's on how to implement sales development strategies in the Salesforce Lightning experience.
Is it cool to be
Wow.
in business together?
It is amazing, but there are secrets to being in a family business together. You have to do totally different
Yes.
things.
No overlap, right?
Zippo, zero, none overlap.
Yeah.
So there's no conflict or just like...
Well, there's no conflict because the world does not know this, but he is the boss of me.
Kids are always the boss.
They know it now.
Yeah.
That's
So, yeah.
what
Okay,
happens.
what is your...
Dave knows this once he had a kid.
Yeah.
He has a new boss.
I have a boss. She's a little dictator.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what happens.
This now.
Yeah.
I slept on the couch last night because of this dictator. My wife is sick. I tried to sleep in a bit in my daughter's room.
No.
She stood up and looked at me for 20 minutes crying, and I said, I'm going on the couch. It was awful. It was awful. Okay, what's your morning routine?
Ah.
What did you do this morning? That's what I want to know.
Okay. So, I'm at my desk by 7:30.
Wow. Yeah, it's in your house.
Virtual.
Yeah.
Virtual, right?
Yeah.
So, I'm at
Is
my
your
by
desk your
7:30.
bed?
My desk is not my bed.
Okay,
I don't
okay.
do that.
Yeah, yeah.
I can't do that. I
Yeah,
have
me
a
neither.
real office
Okay.
with video set up, the whole bag.
Yeah.
So I have to do email and drink coffee
Yes.
before anything else. And I only have 1 cup of coffee today, so it's not like that. So,
Mm-hmm.
and that's usually when I talk to Matt about
Mhm.
any issues we
Yeah.
have, because he's an early riser too. And I just get caught up on all my stuff. Like during the day when I'm getting emails, oh, that's interesting, off it goes. I know I'm going to look at it in the morning.
Yeah.
Or on
Have
weekends.
you ever always been an early riser?
I have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Same.
Yeah.
Dave?
It's been an acquired taste.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
My
I love it.
kids.
now I am.
Mhm.
Okay, that's good. How do you work? How do you work? Like you're remote all day. Do you have scheduled time? You have
do.
like 3 hours of deep work, and then you do emails, or
Oh God, doesn't that sound good?
Yes.
So my calendar I guard with my life, right? But at 11 and 3 is my outbound sales time, and it's sacrosanct time, right? I try not to do anything else. At 11 a.m. and at 3 p.m. I am at my stand-up desk, which is where I do my best selling.
Yeah.
Scheduled sales calls, go in wherever they go, schedule in gym time, skip it a lot.
Yeah.
Stay scheduled.
It's
but
in the
I
calendar.
skip
it's
a
there.
lot.
It's there.
And then just Thursdays is only selling day. Like I don't do podcasts at, like most times.
Today.
I won't
Yeah.
leave the office on a Thursday. And so I'm pretty regimented. I
Love
think you
that.
have to be like that if you're going to run a
I've
business.
I've seen like John Barrow's, like his calendar looks similar. I don't know too much about this world,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
it seems to be like, okay, I'm making these calls during this
Oh,
time.
he's awesome.
I love that discipline.
Yeah.
I love it. I try to have that with like writing or creating.
Yeah.
It doesn't always happen that way.
Yeah.
What are books? Give me some books that you would recommend the most to sales leaders, whether they're current leaders or aspiring leaders.
Okay. So,
Sales Development Playbook.
Number one.
obviously,
Number one.
obviously.
Matt Bertuzzi's book, number 2.
Yeah.
Number 2.
Yeah.
Let's see. I just bought, because I heard it was awesome. I haven't read it yet. I think it's called Growth IQ by Tiffany Bova.
Oh, I'll check that out. I haven't
I've
read it.
heard rave reviews about it, so it
She's
just
awesome.
landed on my desk yesterday. I am madly in love with Keenan's new book called Gap Selling.
Ooh,
Really,
gap
really
selling.
interesting. Here's
Yeah.
what it's about. Quick synopsis. People either sell to current state or future state.
Yep.
Nobody sells to the gap on how you get there.
Mm-hmm. Ooh, I love this.
That's where sales should be selling.
Ooh,
Yeah.
I love that.
So there's that. And I'm also reading Eat Their Lunch by Anthony Iannarino,
Mhm.
which is about competitive selling. Not that I have competitors
Yeah.
or care about them, but I want to beat them.
In case they try to emerge.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
All right.
Yeah.
Gap selling.
Yeah.
I could use that.
I feel like
I'm
there's a
gonna
lot of people that are right in that middle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everyone's in the middle.
Yeah.
Everyone is trying to go from one state to another state, and I love that observation of like, sell to that, sell to the transformation,
Right.
not the you're already there.
That is correct. I saw him speak about that book at Inbound last year,
Mhm.
and I sat in the audience going, ugh, I'm a loser. Ugh, I'm a loser. I got to get this book. I got to do this, because it made so much sense.
Yeah, it's like it's the equivalent to me, the concept of the weight loss before and after. You're selling the transformation. You can't just
Exactly.
sell weight loss books on someone who's already jacked on the cover, right? And you don't probably want to sell them to in your current state.
Mhm.
You want to show the gap, go from
Mhm.
here to there,
Yep.
sell the transformation.
Yep.
I love it. Thank you so much for being on, Trish. If you love Trish like you do, leave a 6-star review, 6 stars only. And
We only get
and shout out to
6-star
Trish.
ratings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The system only goes to 5, but
People-
all of our reviews, they rate 5 stars, and then in the comments they write 6 stars.
Oh.
Okay, that's our hack. All right, 6 stars.
6 stars.
Check out Trish Bertuzzi's book. Check out the bridgegroupinc.com.
Yeah,
right?
bridgegroupinc.com.
Bridge Group, and download all the original research that's there.
You want to know one of the all-time power moves in marketing?
What's that?
Trish Bertuzzi's Twitter handle is @Bridge Group.
Oh,
Inc.
yeah.
Bridge Group Inc.
Yeah.
How good is that?
Yeah, that's what you need to do. So
All
check her out
business.
on all the social stuff. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Awesome.
Thank you.